Hey everyone, just a little disclaimer for Poop Month. If it wasn't already clear, we will be discussing poops and farts in depth throughout this month. So you have been warned. Also throughout this month, we will be referring to poop as stool or feces. These terms will be used interchangeably. It basically means the same thing. Oh, and one last disclaimer pertaining to mildly explicit language, we will also be calling it shit. Thank you.
Hey, we are the Lab Doctors. I'm Amanda.
I'm Dorothy.
And I'm Zhao Yong.
We are biomedical researchers who realized we still have a lot to learn about science.
So why not join us on this quest? Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Lab Doctors podcast. If you're a first-time listener, I guess it's not welcome back, but welcome. Either way, I don't really remember what Amanda says in these front parts, so I'm just gonna wing it. The main point is that this is actually part 2 of our interview with Jun Wei on where poop goes, and in this particular part of the episode, we are gonna talk about what happens to sewage after it gets flushed. Hope you enjoy. If you haven't given it a listen, do listen to part 1. It's actually very interesting. Or don't, I don't know, just do you, whatever. Okay, back to the episode.
Okay, so I guess something that is also on our minds that we were discussing before this podcast is how does the poop get filtered, which I think you said you were going into. And are we just basically drinking water from all this poop waste?
Okay.
Yeah. So
The newater in Singapore.
So now we are going into the drinking water realm.
Okay.
Okay, so that is another process on its own. So but before we go in, right, so poop get filtered, right? So from usual layman understanding is that you just think of, like this shit-filled wastewater is passing through a membrane. But actually, we don't want to do that. Why? Just to have another visual reference. You know how you play tennis? How you play tennis, and more often than not, your tennis ball will stuck in your fence, right?
Yes.
So just imagine, you want your fans to not get stuck. Like small balls accumulate over time, right?
Right.
So if you were to do nothing to the wastewater and it's a poop-filled wastewater, you just
Keep
smack
getting
it in.
clogged.
Yeah, so it will be as equivalent as a shark jamming into your membrane. So your membrane is that
Yeah.
So then it's not desirable because you won't get much water over time. So we are trying to prolong the effect of just now what we mentioned about biofilm. We're trying to prolong the process to extract as much water as we can. Then after that, we will go through some cleaning. Then after that, we will extract again. So we will try to want to achieve as clean water as we can, which is where the biological comes in. Then after that, then we pass through the membrane.
Oh, okay.
So that is how you will want your poop to get filtered. So just now you mentioned about newater, right?
Yep.
So newater is what we call reclaimed water. Okay.
Yep.
Reclaim.
So actually, usually after a biological process, you will disinfect. But actually, the predominant aim for that kind of water treatment, right, is actually to discharge to the sea.
Why? Not for us to...
So
fair enough. I can't drink so much water.
You want to actively drink this water.
So remember just now, like I said that actually our environmental engineering, the purpose is to reintroduce back to the environment.
Right, in a clean way.
So this is actually our main focus, to reintroduce back to the environment. But because you know how water scarce Singapore is and many other countries, so we want to reuse this water back. So I think, in one of the episodes, you talk about peeing the pool and then you talk about osmotic pressure, right? So that's actually where it comes in. So we have something called the reverse osmosis. So as you know that the whole osmosis process is a spontaneous net movement of the diffusion of your solvent from lower solute to higher solute.
Right.
Okay, so actually you're just trying to reverse that. So that's reverse osmosis.
Okay, so from
but
higher
solute to
lower
solute?
Yes, but you're trying to move the solvent.
Oh, you're trying to
So
move
you're
the
trying to
solvent.
counter.
I'm like taking my secondary school knowledge
So you're trying to counter the natural process of it.
against the gravity, not gravity.
gravity.
When,
Concentration gradient.
yes.
So you try to reverse that.
Yeah.
So because you reverse that, right, and as you know, we want to get filtered water, right? So there's a lot of small ions and all. So you actually need a very good membrane.
Yeah.
Then you need to reverse that, and it will consume a lot of energy.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I was thinking about the energy cost.
Like electrical energy?
Yeah, because you are reversing a spontaneous process, so naturally you require more energy. I would assume. Yeah.
So that's why newater is actually very costly.
But it's for my pee.
So it's actually very costly because you are trying to do this RO process. So a lot of people will think that, after newater, right, that's where we ingest the water directly.
Right.
No.
There's more is new water.
No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, this one I'm not sure how scientifically proven it is because actually you already extract all the minerals from it.
Right.
There are some people that claims that it actually extract minerals from your body, but it's not very well understood.
Oh, because it's too clean, so
Yes,
it
it's too
starts
clean.
leaching
That if you
nutrients
drink
from
new
your
water,
body.
it extracts
Yeah,
from your
so-
body.
Yeah, because it will move into the water instead of the water moving into you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that is what some people claim, but actually the more practical idea is that we actually reintroduce back to our reservoir.
Yeah.
We reintroduce back to our reservoir, then we call that an environmental buffer. So in some way, it's trying to prevent any fault in the product of your reclaimed water.
Right.
That means you try to dilute.
Yeah.
Make it more natural.
Yeah.
With inverted commas.
Correct. Then just now you mentioned about packing, right? Like organic, right? So why we always say that, we drink water, we drink from new water, we drink from pool water. So by the time it reaches the reservoir, actually it's very, very clean already.
Right.
Then that's where our water treatment comes in. So water treatment works in a different thing, but it also has the same purpose of bringing down organics. So your organics definitely much lesser. Mainly is contributed like, your bird shit, when they poop in your reservoir.
Right. I never think about this.
So like recently the Mandarin duck in Hougang, like probably will shit and then you will probably end up in one of your reservoirs. Yeah, so it's not so much on the human feces, but it's more of the natural elements of it. But we still have to bring it down. So we bring it down by what we call coagulation flocculation.
Another chim word.
So the main idea is actually you add in what we call like metal ions, and predominantly we use actually aluminium. So what happens, we will attract, due to some chemistry involved, we will attract
All the bacteria and
we will
organic.
attract all the organics.
Okay.
We will attract, then same thing. Then we need to move on to the next stage, which is sedimentation. That's where it will settle again, and then we are trying to take the less organic supernatant at the top.
Right, yeah.
Then after that, then we move through filtration. But in this case, the filtration is not as taxing as the reverse osmosis because the water is really very clean. So you just want to pass through pass through. You just want to pass through it just to be safe. Then after that, then we go for disinfection, and then that's where you will come
You're
to your
drinking
tap.
the tap water and the drinking water. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I expected it to just be like flush the toilet, filtered water, and go back to your tap. So much fun.
Yeah. So in some way, it opens up quite a bit of perspective for me.
Yeah. I think a lot of these things we never really actually think about, especially when we're drinking water.
Yeah.
I think the thing about the clean water one, I don't know if you all have watched the YouTube video about how they have this powder in, I guess, third world or developing countries where they add the powders. And then what you said, so basically the first step is coagulation, where they like get everything together so that all the impurities are like clumping together. And because it clumped together, then it's heavier, right? So then it will it will settle. So that's your sedimentation. And then the last part is the disinfectant. Is that similar?
Yeah.
Like it's just on a larger scale
It's
and
just
more
on a larger scale.
and more like advanced, right?
Yes,
Because
yes.
actually, if you all want to check out that video, it's quite cool. So
I did it before when I went camping last time.
yeah.
And I didn't understand what's the scientific. It's just, are you
Yeah,
sure?
it's
Okay.
basically a 3-step. So it's like coagulation,
Okay, sure.
sedimentation, and then
I
disinfect.
appreciate
Yeah. So
that
if,
so much
if
more
let's
now.
say like, you are lost in the woods,
Buy me the
you are
powder.
lost in the woods, And if you like really desperate to want to drink water, the first process you should do, if you don't have if you can't coagulate,
just at least let it settle.
Let it go through. What you can do is you go find, like, you come gather some sand, right? And you just let the water pass through. It may not be as clean, it may still have organic content, but what the main purpose is that it eliminates the most immediate danger to your drinking water, which is bacteria.
Oh, the sand can filter out the bacteria?
Yes, because all your sand pores, right, when they come together, your bacteria is actually quite huge. Okay. So it will actually prevent you from having any waterborne diseases.
Ooh.
Oh, that's damn cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So in times of need,
This is what you can do.
Yeah, this is what you can do.
Zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, it's very helpful.
Yeah, so I think we have the last question for the day, which is, what are the concerns for clearing of poop when there is a pandemic? Because, you know, in the news we have heard the government has been testing sewage water for COVID-19.
Yeah.
And so how do they actually go about testing the sewage water, and is it safe for the workers that are actually testing this water?
Okay, so I'm not very sure of, like, is there any safety protocols in those wastewater treatment plants? Because definitely the staff have to handle to a certain degree, even though a lot of things is in automation. But during my final year project days, I actually get to touch, like,
Poop water?
yeah, like really fresh, like before any biological.
Does it smell?
Yes, so bad.
Like worse than if you have the worst diarrhea.
Yeah, so I think it kind of affected my smelling a bit.
Oh.
Like I would start to hallucinate. It's really that bad. So I would start to hallucinate that, like, you know, when I go home and I bathe, then I should feel fresh and like clean and whatnot, right? But I will still keep smelling. So just now I mentioned that, you know, I was doing with like grit and all, so it was very, very fresh, you know, like start of the treatment, that kind of thing. And yeah, so the thing I was doing is quite lame. It's just trying to see what's the different size of the sand inside the wastewater.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I have to filter, right? So I have this like tray thing, and then I still remember very vividly is that I actually get to see like things like phlegm and like,
Oh my god.
Oh, crap. Will you see like menses blood? I'm honestly.
no lah!
How? But it will be
Like
flushed
the
out as
blood
well.
clots,
Yeah, but
right?
it's so dark. It's so dark. Yeah.
So maybe the phlegm thing
Probably
is.
it's
Okay, I should stop it.
but things that, you know, it cannot be so easily like dissolved into the water. Yeah, then it will all trap at the top. So there are twigs,
Right.
whatever. It's just nasty lah. Yeah. So but back to the thing. So I mean, I'm fine. So I guess it's to a certain degree safe. But even when we talk about public regulation, and why I say that there's a lot of purpose in this job is because there's also about public health and all your beaches, all your recreational beach are very heavily regulated. So they actually test your, like, maybe your Sentosa beach or East Coast beach and whatnot, right? To make sure that it's safe for indirect contact. So even like personally, I do dragon boat. So the reservoirs that we do dragon boat in, they have to meet a certain standards. Because let's say you drop in the water, there's indirect contact, right? So to a certain degree, with that frame of mind, I'm quite positive that the water agency have some regulation in place for indirect contact. That means we are not consuming it.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
When you drowning and you swallow the water.
So but I think the purpose of your question is probably like wastewater surveillance of, like, you know, like the most recent COVID-19 pandemic, right? So basically we are using wastewater as a epidemiological tool. So actually this whole idea is not new.
Right, yeah.
Initially, how it sprouted was we wanted to test illegal use of drugs.
Oh.
That's so smart though.
That's so smart, because it definitely comes out in
It
ways.
definitely comes out.
Yeah.
So maybe like cocaine or whatnot, right? You actually get discharged from your fecal matter. We can actually calculate back. We probably won't investigate like, oh, you're the one. But I think it's more of have a better understanding of what your population is doing.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So it's not to catch the criminal. It's more
not
like
to catch a criminal, but it's it's also in some way to understand the
How rampant the problem is.
yes.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that's where it goes back. And so from what you know, now we are using wastewater to surveillance COVID-19, right?
Yeah.
It has been done for other outbreaks before,
Right.
like polio.
Oh, that's so long ago though.
Yeah, it is very long ago. Hepatitis A viruses.
Right.
Yeah, but a key characteristic of all this is that most of these viruses or enteroviruses are more resistant to any things that is being applied to them.
Like they don't really die that easily.
They don't really die that easily. Yeah, so in the framework of this whole COVID-19 and wastewater surveillance, there's two camps. So there's two camps of researchers. Like some people, oh yes, I support. Then there are some people that no, maybe you should think about it, that kind of thing. Yeah, because definitely there is good and bad thing. So I think one thing is it can really help solve like pressing problems of insufficient clinical diagnostic testing.
Yeah.
Right. Oh, right.
And definitely is able to provide a very rapid and inexpensive mass survey.
Right.
It's less intrusive. But there's also the not for.
Yeah.
Okay, because a lot of times positive signals can actually means that it's maybe active infection or actually recovered ones. Yeah, so I think what was interesting is that in a research study, so Singapore actually is a bit boring. Because we don't have like much COVID cases, so from the seminars that I listened, like I can see that it's quite a blummer. Like you don't get like exciting data maybe. But I do know that in one country, Saudi Arabia, what they do is they know that this hospital have a lot of COVID patients, and then they have what we call the septic tank, and a lot of hospitals in other countries, they actually have their own treatment plant before they discharge to sea or discharge to their main sewage line.
Okay.
So they actually study, can I correlate any of the positive pickup to what is happening in my hospital?
Yeah.
So they even test like, your viruses have different like
Nucleic acid.
Nucleocapsid, yes. Nucleocapsid, like
Good job.
nucleocapsid
Yeah.
gene, right?
Yeah.
So they actually see, which gene actually express better when we do all this to correlate back to the wastewater. And for COVID-19, apparently the one that they use a lot is actually the N1 of COVID-19.
The neuraminidase, is it?
COVID-19?
The N1 gene.
That's like flu, right?
That's true.
Oh my god,
Yeah,
I
so
totally.
And one gene.
Yeah.
For someone studying COVID, I actually don't know that.
Georgie's like looking at me and I'm like, I know influenza, but not COVID.
Tom is like the virus expert and I'm just...
Yeah. So, but then there's a lot of issues with that because, as you know, all your viruses are also...
Yeah.
Yes.
And actually, your septic tank, in that case study, right?
Yep.
Because your septic tank and even their treatment, right? They actually have a live micro community.
Yes. Yeah.
So they actually degrades it. So actually, a lot of them suggested that you have to understand the decay kinetics. So there's more to meets the eye than just to say that, it's a clear-cut solution. Because there's more understanding required. Yeah, so that's why it's interesting lah. Yeah. It's definitely interesting lah.
Yeah.
But there's a 2 and 4 camp.
I'm 2. I'm 2.
I feel like I don't have enough information.
I'm for it. What's 2 and 4? It's 4 and against. I'm 4. I think it's good.
I'm more for, but because I'm risk averse.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think, but I don't want
And
to be
I don't take drugs.
But I still don't want to be the person who is doing the policy. I mean, I feel like I don't have enough information. Like, do you feel like you have enough information to say, okay, yes,
True.
irrevocably, yes, this is what I want to do? There's so many other layers.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yes.
Because we consider from a standpoint of like ending the pandemic, but there's also like financially what you need to do for safety.
Whatever.
Whether is it worth investing so much, that kind of thing. So, it's a tough job.
It's a tough job.
Wow.
I think sometimes, when you look at this kind of thing, it's better to just stay in lab and just replicate.
Yeah. Don't need to think so much.
Give me the work to do. I don't want to plan the plans.
Yeah.
So just now I mentioned a lot of things about like, all your drugs and all, right?
Yeah.
So things that sometimes we actually trace in our wastewater, like the levels of things like your paracetamol, your ibuprofen. So what they like to do is that in this wastewater surveillance of COVID-19, they like to normalize it back to the concentration of all this. Because why do we do so is because whatever concentration that you get for all these drugs, right, that is less degradable, you can actually have a better insight of what the population is like. So just to eliminate the idea that, okay, maybe like from this area, right, this drug, the concentration is this. But then suddenly you see an increase. But this increase may not necessarily mean that there's more infection. It can just mean that, someone shift in. So you have to normalize it.
So that's your baseline.
So the baseline is the paracetamol level.
Something that is normal.
It's like the housekeeping gene.
Oh, interesting.
Not helpful for a lot of the listeners.
Not helpful, at all. But
Helpful for us.
Science.
So that's about it.
It's such a cool episode.
honestly.
I really learned so much.
No, but it really also like makes me feel so much more respect for the people that have to deal with sewage and have to deal with all these things.
It sounds like a shitty job, but it's
so important.
It's so important.
Such an
Someone has
job.
to do it, and so mad respect to
I guess
everyone.
that's why he sounds so passionate. I feel like my
We need to
job
give more
doesn't.
credit to like these people.
So
Like, what am I contributing? They are contributing so much.
I'm contributing to
Oh my goodness.
publication.
Okay, anyway.
so I think adding on to like just now I talked about like all the drugs and all, right? So there's also like different emerging concerns with regards to the wastewater. So number one is, a lot of pharmaceutical products, right? When they end up in wastewater and then we eventually discharge to sea and then animals eat it, that kind of thing, right? So a lot of those pharmaceutical products, they are more resistant to degradation. So even the biological treatment, just now we say that it was supposed to remove, right? It will end up in sea and then sea animals will eat it and then it will come back to us.
And then we get more concentrated.
So things like a very good example is active ingredient like diclofenac, that kind of thing. It will actually
I don't know what
I don't know what they
but basically it will have like they are responsible like for endocrine disruption in the body. So when fish eat it, then you eat it, then it's not so good. Another thing that also quite concerning one is antibiotic resistance.
For sure.
So now the thing is everybody very scared. I mean, at least in the research, is that your wastewater, right? It becomes a platform.
for antibiotic.
Oh my god, because everything is like mixing and
everything comes in, all your microbial, all your antibiotic drugs.
Suddenly I'm very scared also.
So sometimes like for me, when I read too much, I'm like, oh my god, this is over.
The world is ending.
So like things like your horizontal gene transfer.
Oh my god.
So
because there's a reservoir for them to collect.
the worst thing is organic reach.
Yes, okay.
So
Just don't tell me.
so this causes a lot of like serious public health. But the consolation, and I don't want to frighten you all, is that a lot of times all this concentration of your drugs and all your antibiotics, right, is in very, very low concentration. As much as maybe a teaspoon in Olympic sized pool.
Okay, doesn't sound very It's fine, all is fine, guys.
I'm still scared.
So quite interesting, because I feel that a lot of times this wastewater, instead of being waste, it actually has a lot of treasure.
There's a lot of meaning.
It has a lot of insights. It shared a lot of understanding about your demographic of your population as well.
That's why I'm like, poop is so important. We need to talk about it more.
We already summarized from like our first few episodes that poop is important and we should be collecting poop.
Okay, so we have come to the end of the episode, and I really want to thank Jun Wei for joining us today.
Woo! Yay! Thanks!
Yeah, we have really learned a lot, and I think he has put in a lot of effort into like coming up with different analogies for us to understand. He has done a lot of research. There's a lot of paper in his hand. So thank you for that, and I hope everyone enjoyed this episode and learn more about poop and how important it is for the environment and for us.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jun Wei.
As usual, follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel. A like and a comment would help us a lot.
You can also follow us on our social media, Instagram, Twitter, and even Facebook. Feel free to DM us any questions.
Alternatively, you can email us at thelabdoctors@gmail.com and we will be linking some helpful articles in the show notes. So do check it out and share it with your friends if you liked it. Thank you.
Jimmy, say bye.
Bye.
Poop month.